Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and legendary silver coins ever struck in early American history, the 1804 draped bust quarter dollar, a 25-cent piece that holds a special place in the world of numismatics. At first glance, it might look like just another early U.S. coin, but once you peel back the layers of history, politics, artistry, and scarcity, the story of the 1804 quarter becomes a remarkable journey into the beginnings of America's coinage system. In this video, we'll trace its origins, design, historical context, mintage, and collectible value, and explain why the 1804 draped bust quarter is considered one of the great treasures of early American coinage. So let's travel back to the early 19th century, when the young United States was still defining its identity, and see how this small silver coin tells a big story. Part 1. The birth of the quarter dollar in America. The quarter dollar denomination, worth 25 cents, or 1/4 of a U.S. dollar, was authorized under the Coinage Act of 1792. This act, passed by Congress, established the U.S. Mint and laid down the foundation for America's coinage system. At that time, decimal-based currency was a revolutionary concept. Most of the world relied on complex systems of pounds, shillings, pence, or various real and escudo denominations. The United States wanted a simpler, rational system, and the quarter dollar became an essential part of it, but interestingly, the quarter was not the first small silver coin struck. The half dime and dime preceded it. The very first U.S. quarters were not minted until 1796, and even then, they were produced in very small numbers, just over 6,000 pieces. From the start, the quarter was not struck every year. Production depended on the availability of silver deposits brought by private citizens to the mint. In some years, no quarters at all were made. That scarcity set the stage for coins like the 1804 draped bust quarter to become highly coveted. Part 2. The draped bust design. The draped bust design was one of the most iconic motifs of early U.S. coinage. It was introduced in 1796 for the quarter dollar and remained in use until 1807. The obverse, or front, of the coin featured a portrait of Lady Liberty, her hair flowing and partially tied with a ribbon, her chest draped with a garment. This figure of liberty was meant to embody the ideals of the young republic, freedom, democracy, and dignity. The design is widely believed to have been inspired by Philadelphia socialite Anne Willing Bingham, one of the most prominent women of her time, though the actual engraving was executed by Robert Scott, the first chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. Around Liberty's head are 13 stars, representing the original colonies, with the word Liberty above and the date 1804 at the bottom. On the reverse, or back, is a heraldic eagle, adapted from the Great Seal of the United States. The eagle carries a bundle of arrows in one claw and an olive branch in the other, symbolizing both war and peace. Above the eagle's head is a cluster of stars beneath a scroll inscribed with the Latin phrase, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. The edge of the coin was reeded, a feature designed to prevent clipping or shaving of the silver. This design not only served a functional purpose but also gave the coin a distinctively American identity. Part 3. Historical context of 1804. Now let's place the 1804 quarter into its historical setting. The United States in 1804 was still a very young nation, only 28 years removed from the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson was serving his second term as the third President of the United States. The country had recently completed the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, doubling its territory and setting the stage for westward expansion. Internationally, tensions were high. The Napoleonic Wars raged in Europe, and American trade was constantly under threat from both Britain and France. Domestically, the country was grappling with economic challenges, limited infrastructure, and the difficulties of unifying states under a central federal system. Amidst all this, coinage production was still in its infancy. The Philadelphia Mint, the nation's only mint at the time, was struggling with limited resources, inconsistent bullion deposits, and primitive equipment. Every coin struck during this period was a direct reflection of the challenges and ambitions of the new republic. Part 4. The mintage of the 1804 quarter. The 1804 draped bust quarter is one of the rarest issues in the series. According to official mint records, only 6,738 quarters were struck in 1804. To put this into perspective, modern U.S. coinage is produced in the billions. Even compared to other early quarters, the 1804 issue is unusually scarce. Why so few? The answer lies in the way silver coinage was produced. Citizens would bring their silver bullion to the mint, and coins would be struck to match that amount. If there was little silver deposited in a given year, production was minimal. Additionally, many early quarters saw heavy circulation. People actually used them daily in trade. As a result, very few examples survived in high condition. Part 5, Varieties and Characteristics. One fascinating detail about the 1804 draped bust quarter is that it comes in different die varieties. Because minting technology was still primitive, dies were engraved by hand, and small differences appeared from one set of dies to another. Collectors today recognize several varieties of the 1804 quarter, distinguished by the placement of stars, the shape of numbers, or the position of the eagle's features. These varieties add to the coin's appeal, as specialists love to hunt for specific die marriages. Some varieties are rarer than others, making them even more valuable. The typical specifications of the coin were: composition, 89.24% silver, 10.76% copper weight, 6.74 grams diameter, 27 mm. Read. These specifications followed the standards established by the Coinage Act of 1792. Part 6. Collectability and value. The 1804 draped bust quarter is one of the key dates in the entire U.S. quarter series. Because of its low mintage and high demand, it has always commanded strong prices in the collector market. Even in heavily worn condition, an authentic 1804 quarter can sell for tens of thousands of dollars. For example, a well-circulated piece might bring $25,000 to $35,000. Mid-grade examples can exceed $75,000. High-grade specimens, especially those certified as mint state, can cross into the hundreds of thousands of dollars at major auctions. This rarity places the 1804 quarter alongside other legendary coins like the 1796 quarter and the 1804 silver dollar. Part 7, Comparison with the famous 1804 dollar. You may have heard of the 1804 silver dollar, often called the King of American Coins. Interestingly, the 1804 quarter shares the same date but tells a very different story. The $1,804 was not actually struck in 1804, it was struck decades later for diplomatic presentation sets. The quarter, however, was genuinely minted in 1804. This makes the 1804 quarter an authentic relic of that year, rather than a later creation. In that sense, it is historically more real than its famous dollar cousin, though not as well known outside numismatic circles. Part 8, Survival and Rarity. It is estimated that perhaps 200 to 300 examples of the 1804 quarter survive today. In all grades combined, most are heavily worn from circulation. Only a handful remain in mint state condition. This extreme rarity is what drives collectors to pay such high prices when one appears for sale. Auction records show intense bidding wars whenever an 1804 quarter is offered. Collectors of early U.S. type coins, as well as advanced specialists, all compete for the chance to own one. Part 9, Legacy of the draped bust quarter. The draped bust design was eventually replaced in 1807 by the capped bust design, engraved by John Reich. This new look modernized the quarter and reflected evolving artistic tastes, but the draped bust coins remain cherished as some of the earliest and most beautiful examples of American silver coinage. The 1804 issue, in particular, stands as a symbol of both the struggles and triumphs of the early U.S. mint. It tells us about the scarcity of resources, the artistry of engravers like Robert Scott, and the everyday economic life of Americans in the early 1800s. Part 10, Why collectors treasure the 1804 quarter. So why does this coin hold such a grip on the imagination? 1. Historical significance. It connects directly to Jefferson's presidency, the Louisiana Purchase, and the early struggles of the Republic. 2. Artistic design. The draped bust Liberty is one of the most elegant portraits in U.S. coinage. 3. Extreme rarity. With fewer than 7,000 struck and only a couple hundred surviving, it is a true rarity. 4. Collector demand. It is a key date in the series, meaning no serious quarter collection is complete without it. 5. Auction prestige. Owning one is a badge of honor among elite collectors. Conclusion. The 1804 draped bust quarter dollar is far more than just a piece of silver. It's a tangible connection to the founding decades of the United States, a rare survivor from a time when the country was still defining itself. From its elegant Liberty design to its minuscule mintage and enduring rarity, this coin embodies the struggles, ambitions, and artistry of the early republic. For collectors, it represents the ultimate prize. For historians, it offers a window into the past. And for all of us, it serves as a reminder of how even the smallest objects can carry the greatest stories.